Section 4 of Chapter 23 is about the environmental movement. So we've already talked about this book, or at least briefly mentioned it before. In 1962, biologist Rachel Carson wrote a book and published it called Silent Spring. In this book, she talks about the impact of pesticides, specifically DDT, which I actually mentioned in the previous lecture. But she discussed in this book how there was all sorts of pollution and toxic waste that was harming the environment. And as a result of this book, Congress responded by restricting the use of DDT, which again, it's a chemical that lots of farmers use on their crops. But she said that human activities were very harmful to the environment, to the water, to the trees, to the air quality, everything. And as I said before, toxic waste, it's a poisonous byproduct of human activity. And she said that that was a huge problem during this time period. One specific incident is at the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1969, the actual river caught on fire because there was so much stuff in it. There were chemicals, there was oil, different sorts of debris, and it just caught on fire. They said that the river, it didn't flow, it oozed. And they said in the river you would not drown but decay. That's how much toxic waste was in this river that it caught on fire. Okay, one of the I thought there was another one we were going to talk about, but that might come in here later. Love Canal. Okay, April 22nd, 1970, this is when Earth Day, the first Earth Day happened, and it was created as a form of protest against all of this toxic waste and environmental pollution. Plant trees on Earth Day, pick up trash. Okay, now President Richard Nixon, he is going to be the president who is going to encourage Congress to create the EPA. He actually didn't run as somebody who was big on the environmental movement, but he took a big role in it because that's what people wanted. And so the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, it was established in 1970, and basically it's a government agency to try and protect the environment. Try and protect the entire ecological chain, from the air to the water to the animals, everything. And one of the things that the EPA is going to push for, and they still do this today, they want to limit or eliminate pollutants that put people's health at risk. Okay, so as a result, some of the legislation that is going to be passed after this, the first of which is the Clean Air Act in 1970. The Clean Air Act is going to be a law that requires factories and cars to reduce their toxic emissions. And the purpose of this is going to be to try and clear up the air. Then we have the Clean Water Act, which was passed in 1973. And it's going to be a law requiring factories and farms to reduce water pollution. I mean, let's be honest, who really wants to drink chemicals or pesticides in their drinking water? Not me. I like my clean well water. Okay, but that was the purpose of the Clean Water Act. Also in 1973, we have the passage of the Endangered Species Act, which is just a law that is going to try and protect animals and plants that are in danger of going extinct. Okay, so like the bald eagle, you can't shoot a bald eagle because they're endangered. You know, you're going to go to prison for that. Okay, now let's talk about Love Canal. Love Canal, it's near Niagara Falls in New York, or actually, is it in Connecticut? I don't know why I'm thinking Connecticut. It's in New York. That's where Niagara Falls is. Anyhow, so Love Canal, there were lots of toxic chemicals, and you can't see very well in this picture, but this is an area of land near Love Canal, and there's just barrels dumped there, just barrels of chemical waste. And the people who lived in Love Canal, they suffered birth defects, they had cancer at super high rates. Like, you could go into these people's houses, they would have standing puddles of this contaminated chemical water in their basements. It was on playgrounds at elementary schools. It was in their backyards. And the thing was, when kids went and played in this, they would get burns on their hands. That's how bad it was. So in 1980, the United States government created the Superfund, and the purpose of the Superfund was to basically clean up hazardous waste. The government allotted money to try and clean up these things to help deter environmental pollution. But then we had this issue at 3 Mile Island. And this is really interesting. I don't know why I find it so interesting, but I do. 3 Mile Island was the location of a nuclear plant. And March 28th, 1979, there was an incident there. One of the reactors, it malfunctioned, and there was fear that Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which was the town nearby, that it was going to be flooded with nuclear, or with radiation, basically. Okay, and it was a huge deal. Everybody was freaked out. And to add insult to injury, 12 days before this happened, a movie came out in theaters called The China Syndrome. And in this movie, there is a nuclear plant that has a nuclear meltdown. And basically, there's this fear that it's going to melt a hole through the earth all the way to China. And so people are like, oh my gosh, I saw that movie. It's going to melt a hole through the earth. We're all going to die of radiation. Everybody was freaking out. It turned out everyone was okay, but there was the threat that it would release radioactive gases. Ooh, if you guys have access to HBO, you should totally watch the series Chernobyl, because there was a nuclear reactor meltdown in Chernobyl, which is like Russia, long time ago. I say long time ago, it was in the 1980s, but it happened. You should look it up. Who's that dude that yells, "Fish on!" River monsters. There's an episode where the river monsters guy goes and looks for mutant fish at Chernobyl Lake. He doesn't actually find any, but it's kind of cool. Okay. Now, environmental regulations, everybody was not on board. There were actually some people who were against regulating, emissions and chemicals in the water, because they said it hurt business. It was harmful to business and it hampered it. So, anyhow.